You can start.
Welcome to Professor Academy. Today we'll be dealing with some of the questions in research aptitude. Mostly this has been taken from the 2018 question papers. So let's go with the first question. Given here is a questions of validity concept. This is a match the following question. So let's see. First one is construct validity, then B, external validity, then C, internal validity. The other side is the explanation regarding it is. First one, faulty or poor measure resulting in mislabeling, misinterpreting behavior. Second one, treatment and no treatment groups were unequal before the study began. Then third, sample of participants was not representative. So now we have to match the following regarding each and everything. So let's see what happens here. In case of internal validity, we are very sure that what internal validity means. First of all, what validity means? Validity means the measure or the instrument that is used to measure what it intended to measure, it should be capable of measuring. So when we come to the internal validity, the researcher should try to establish the relationship between what the study's objective itself. So when you see that when the sample of participants are not representative, that itself breaks the internal validity. That itself will not help you to establish the relationship between the variables that the particular study intended to do. So that itself will break it. So internal validity will break whenever the sample of participants are not representative. So C could be related with 3. Then external validity happens when within the concept, we are also able to generalize it to other populations, other time period. So the picture of treatment and non-treatment groups comes into the picture. So the external validity could be related to the option B, that is treatment and non-treatment groups were unequal before the study began. So once B and C is done, we are sure that A is for 1, that is faulty or poor measure resulting in mislabeling, misinterpreting behavior will violate the construct validity. So the right answer is option A, that is A1, B2 and C3. Moving on to question number 2. APS stands for, first one, A, Advanced Physiological Authority, B, American Psychological Association, C, Australian Psychological Association, D, Association of Psychological Assessments. So we know that APA is a part of your citations, which is ultimately the part of the literature review, the second step in the process of research. So APA stands for, this is a direct question, American Psychological Association. Option B is the right answer. Moving on to question number 3. Qualitative researchers criticize quantitative researcher for its tendency towards option A, emphasis on evidence, B, focus on empirism, C, reductionism, D, obsession with creativity. So we are very sure that the quantitative researchers are not towards creativity. They are the ones who stands based on facts and empirical analysis. So we can, first of all, we can cancel out option number D. And the qualitative researchers are those who support the creativity. That is the post-positivism approach. Now let's look upon to emphasis on evidence and empiricism. This both are valid and these are both are supportive, and even the qualitative researchers make use of this. So A and B also could be eliminated. Finally, the right answer will be reductionism. What do you mean by reductionism? Reductionism means a complex settings or a natural setting is being converted into a simple model. So there comes the assumptions, there comes some of the elimination of important variables. So that is why the qualitative researchers criticize the quantitative researchers, because qualitative researchers are those who deal with the natural settings or the actual settings. So they are being against the reductionism feature of quantitative researchers. Moving on to question number 4. Which method is appropriate to reduce random error? Option A, select large sample size. Option B, administer the test after a gap of 1 week. Option C, administer the treatment in same way every time. Option D, administer manipulation checks. So first of all, let's understand what is random error. Random error could be understood with the help of the given example. A researcher misreading a weighting scale records an incorrect measurement. So while measuring the weighting scale, he due to some error or some problem, he incorrectly recorded it. So what happens? There comes the picture of random error. Random error comes out of the misinterpretation or misreading over the recordings during the recording time. So in order to avoid or to reduce the random error, what is adequate measure? Administer the treatment in the same way every time. So when we are doing it repeatedly, or whenever we are making a check, then what happens? It will be automatically reduced. So one or twice we are checking over it. That is doing it in the same way every time. So we will get the right recording. We will understand there was a mistake that was done previously. So option C is the right method for reduce the random error. Moving on to the final question. Which of the following is an incorrect statement? So we have to identify the incorrect statement. Please note incorrect statement. Option A, ex post facto research uses data that you collect before you came up with your hypothesis. B, archival researchers uses data collected and sometimes coded by someone else. C, observational methods are used in both correlation and experimental research. Option D, using a scatter plot to graph your correlated data will not tell you the direction of relationship. Either it is positive or negative. So let's check upon each and every statement. Ex post facto research uses data that you collected before you came up with your hypothesis. Definitely, ex post facto research, one of the type of quantitative research that try to establish the causal effect, that is the cause and effect relationship, will definitely make use of the secondary data. Means that has been already done or been collected by someone else or been already existing. It is not, even though the theory has been established first or the hypothesis comes into picture, they make use of the data that is already been existing. That is the secondary data. So the given option is correct. So this we can avoid. This is not the right answer. Moving on to the archival research uses data collected and sometimes coded by someone else. True, because this is the one similar to the historical research which make use of the historical records and data. So option B also is not ever answer for the question. The statement is correct. Observational methods are used both in correlation and experimental research. Definitely this too is also correct. So finally the answer for the question or the incorrect statement is that using a scatter plot to graph your correlated data will not give you the right direction of relationship. The major purpose of the scatter plot is to understand or through a graphical method, we are trying to understand the relationship between the variables. So option D is correct. So correct in the sense this is the answer for the question and this is an incorrect statement because scatter plots are the one device or the graphical method that has been used to understand the relationship between variables through graphically or a diagram representation. And this is how we are trying to find the correlational relationship between whether they have a positive relationship between the variables or a negative relationship or a zero relationship, zero correlation existing between the variables. So that's all for today. Thank you.